Moving along to another presidential candidate, another outsider, Vivek Ramaswamy, who gave a masterclass in how to handle the LGBTQIA lobby. Here he is confronted by a pansexual reporter. Watch this interaction.
I'm personally pansexual, so I was just wondering what your views on same-sex couples were.
I don't have a negative view of same-sex couples, but I do have a negative view of a tyranny of the minority. So I think that in the name of protecting against a tyranny of the majority, and there are times in this country's history where we have had a tyranny of the majority, we have now, in the name of protecting against tyranny of the majority, created a new tyranny of the minority. And I think that that's wrong. I don't think that somebody who's religious should be forced to officiate a wedding that they disagree with. I don't think somebody who is a woman who's worked really hard for her achievements should be forced to compete against a biological man in a swim competition. I don't think that somebody who's a woman that respects her bodily autonomy and dignity should be forced to change clothes in a locker room with a man. That's not freedom, that's oppression.
And Douglas, he went on to explain why this tyranny of the minority is particularly dangerous for children. How did you see that encounter?
I thought it was fascinating, Rita. Firstly, because this woman saying I'm a pansexual, she's probably used to that making people bow down to her as a sort of goddess Gaia-like figure. You know, oh, pansexual, oh, how interesting you must be, oh my. And of course, she's also used to the fact that really saying that at the opening is a type of way to try to make the person who is your interlocutor into your hostage. I'm a pansexual. You know, what have you got to say about that? And she's hoping that the politicians are going to go, I can't believe you love everything, like want to have sex with trees, whatever pansexuals means this week. Sure. They just hope that it's going to make them into a hostage. And Vivek Ramaswamy is far too clever for that. I know him. I've done events with him. I've spoken with him. On many occasions, he's very smart. And what he did there was expert, in my opinion. Expert in making sure he wasn't taken hostage by this clear political activist. Secondly, by explaining the problem that he has and basically the majority of us have with this weird alphabet soup clown car thing. And thirdly, by doing so in a courteous manner. It's something very interesting about Ramaswamy. He's thought his way through all of these issues. He's got a very clear way of explaining things. And as long as somebody is courteous to him, he's courteous back. And it's very interesting that somebody who's such an outsider when he started is now number 3 in the polls and catching up with DeSantis fast.
It's astonishing how well he's done, because as intelligent as he is, you think he's got zero chance, but he's getting through, and even that interaction ended on a lovely note with I think the reporter.
And by the way,
God.
And by the way, I should mention, Rita, that when I was last on a stage with Vivek in Washington earlier this year, I did say to him that I wanted the deal that I always ask of politicians, which is that if he does make it to president, I want a special portfolio in his government, which is Minister of Education, Public Enlightenment, and also War.
And war? Not asking much, Douglas. Not asking much at all.
I think it would add a certain piquancy to my dealing with the teachers' unions.
I endorse this. I'm backing this 100%. Now, Douglas, you've written about the Snow White controversy this week, and Disney have lost a fortune by backing stupidly woke productions, but they're doing it again. What's the definition of madness again? And with Snow White, the lead actress has been described as a walking PR disaster.
You know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. It's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess.
Douglas, I'm not sure she understands the depths of the themes behind fairy tales, but she seems to have utter contempt for the Snow White story.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it seems that the PR strategy of Disney is to ruin all classic movies and all classic cartoons and claim they're all dated, whilst offering us these horribly dated cliches. Basically, the actress in question is just peeing all over the 1937 cartoon version that's so loved by people and saying things like, she said in an interview, don't expect her to wait for the prince. There may not even be a prince. He's in the recording, but he may be edited out. And the reason, she said, is that the real story of Snow White apparently is that Snow White can become the leader she's meant to be. And apart from the fact, by the way, interestingly enough, Rita, that sounds like a script written by Meghan Markle, who, of course, actually did wait for the prince, or indeed rushed at a prince and grabbed him for her own use. But that aside, what's clearly happening with this is this terrible attempt to sort of update everything. And what they don't realise is that the updating they're doing already sounds much more dated. You know, the 1937 cartoon of Snow White will be ageless. This nonsense already sounds aged to me, at any rate. And I can't wait for this to be yet another Disney box office bomb.
And as I've said before, why not just write a new story with these modern themes that you want to push? There's no reason to go and trash a classic. You can actually write new stories.
Absolutely. Why not, Rita? Here's an idea for Disney. Why don't they just do this thing of a princess in the castle who doesn't want a prince, and she becomes the woman she wants to be, which is a mid-level executive somewhere at the United Nations at First Avenue in New York, and she retires in her mid-50s and has a good retirement send-off from her colleagues, and that's the end.
And she'd go home and live happily ever after with her cats, and I think a lot of people would be happy with that.